everyone, welcome to my channel and thank you for taking the time to watch this video. This is another episode in my gemstone and crystal videos that I've been doing, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the optical properties of a gemstone. I feel this is very important because I wanted to discuss how a gemstone interacts with light. Now light is very important because each and every single gemstone has a very unique way of processing the light that hits it. Light is also important from a spiritual point of view because it carries the universal energy with it, and the gemstone acts as a key to unlock this energy so that we can use it. Now in these initial videos I am focusing a lot on the technical part of it, and later on I will start going through all the different families of gemstones as well as their spiritual connotations, but I thought that it's very good to have a good scientific grounding before you start exploring the spiritual aspects of a gemstone. So what happens when a gemstone interacts with light, or what happens when light actually hits the surface of a gemstone? Now I have a nice little model of a gemstone. This is a diamond cut piece of glass, and it's there to represent what is going on within the gemstone. I've got a little torch to show you what happens when you shine light on it, so I hope you can see it, what is going on when light is shining on that particular gemstone. So when the light hits the surface of a gemstone, it can either be scattered, it can be reflected, refracted, dispersed, it can be absorbed and retransmitted. Now scattering and reflection of light on that surface will determine how much that gemstone sparkles. So if you want to see a really sparkly gemstone, this is because the light is now reflecting off that surface of the gemstone, and it's giving you that sparkle. You can see just moving it in the light in itself brings about that sparkle because a lot of light is bouncing off that surface. And this sparkle or luster is determined by all these surfaces that have been cut onto this gemstone itself. So all the facets of this gemstone will improve how sparkly this gemstone is. The other thing that is going on with the gemstone is refraction, which is the bending of light, and some internal reflection that is going on within the actual body of the gemstone itself. And this is the thing that gives the gemstone its brilliance. Another thing that's going on, it may be absorption and transmission. So the light could be absorbed by that gemstone and transmitted as a color. And finally there's a bit of dispersion going on, so the light is actually breaking up into its colors, and that gives it the fire within the gemstone itself. Now light itself is made up of many different colors, and we've got 7 colors there. I just got this little prism showing you that once you break white light up by putting it through a prism, you can break it up into its colors, and the colors being red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And these are the colors that you will be seeing when you have dispersion going on within the gemstone, or breaking up of those colors within the gemstone itself. Now, like I said, light is made out of a wave. It's made up of colors, and these colors are waves. And a very important factor of light is the wavelength, and this is a thing that dictates a lot of light's characteristic interactions with the gemstone. So we've got light traveling as a wave here, and the distance between the two heights, or the two crests, the height of the wave is called the crest, and the distance between the two of them is called the wavelength. And this wavelength is very important in light because each and every single color that you see is made up of a different wavelength. So you've got red light over here, which has got a very long wavelength, so the different distance between the crests for the red light is very long, and you can see it there. It's not bent very much from the initial pathway of the light. So the longer the wavelength, the less it will bend from the original path of the light. So the light has hit the prism. The orange or the red light has not moved much from the initial direction, simply because it's got a long wavelength, whereas the shorter the wavelength, the more close the waves are together, will determine how much of dispersion happens. So the violet light tends to bend more, or it tends to deviate a lot more from the original path of that light because of its shorter wavelength. So that's a very, very important feature of light itself. Now, this is very, very important in the other aspect of light's interaction with the gemstone, and that is refraction. And refraction, I said, was the bending of the light. Now, this wavelength is very, very important in the bending of the light itself, because like I said, the shorter wavelengths will bend a lot more and the longer wavelengths will bend a lot less. What happens in refraction is that the light hits the surface of the gemstone, and because the gemstone is much more dense than the air that the light was traveling in, it tends to bend. This bending happens because in this denser gemstone, you've got the speed of light changing. So where the speed of light in the air is pretty fast, once it hits the gemstone itself, it slows down quite a bit. And that slowing down of the light causes the bending or the refraction of the light. And the other thing that affects the bending or the refraction of the light, or the degree at which the light is bent within the gemstone, is the angle at which you hit the gemstone with the light. So if the gemstone is coming in at 90 degrees, you're not going to get much bending. But if you hit it at a certain angle, maybe even 60 degrees or whatever angle it is you hit it at, it's going to cause that wave to bend or to refract. And that is very, very important in bringing out brilliance. So it changes the way the gemstone sparkles, the way that the angle at which the light hits the gemstone, as well as how dense that particular gemstone is, will affect the degree to which refraction occurs. And you can see refraction is going on within this prism. You can see the light has now bent as well, so this is bending out, and because light is made up of the different colors, that also affects the different wavelengths, also affects the degree to which that light is refracted or bent within a gemstone. So in a gemstone itself, you can get a whole lot of things going on. You can get it breaking up into its colors over there within the internal structure of the gemstone, because the light is hitting at a certain angle, and that gemstone is slowing down the light, so it's going to give you different kinds of fire going on within the gemstone itself, but a different kind of sparkle, a different kind of brilliance going on because of the density or the type of material that that gemstone is made of. And that is going on within the internal structure of the gemstone. The other thing that happens within the gemstone itself, I've got a nice little diagram here that I've drawn, is the internal reflection that is going on. So once the light hits inside the gemstone, there's a lot of reflection going on within the gemstone. It's hitting the internal walls of the gemstone. The light can come right back at you, again, simply as white light, or it can hit the surface again and disperse into its various colors. And this is due to internal reflection and dispersion, and you can see fire within the gemstone itself. Now, refraction, I spoke about earlier, is the bending of light. And it is a very, very important feature that determines the brilliance of a stone. And each stone has what is called a very unique refractive index. Now, refractive index, I know this looks very, very scientific and mathematical, but it really isn't. It's just a number that they assign to each gemstone, and it is actually comparing the speed of that light within the gemstone, which is given the value of V, compared to the speed of light within a vacuum. A vacuum is a space that's got nothing in it. And it's the space in which light will move at its fastest. So this is what refractive index is. It's just a value, a number that is assigned to each gemstone, and it actually takes the speed of the light within the gemstone and compares it to the speed of light within a vacuum itself. And that's how you get your refractive index. Now, refractive indexes vary, and you find that with air, you've got the speed. This is a nice little table showing you about how the speed changes due to the density of whatever medium the light is moving through. So I've got air, water, glass, and diamond over here. So you can see it getting a lot more dense from air to diamond. The substance through which the light is traveling is getting more dense. Through air, which is very, very similar to a vacuum, as though there's nothing in it, light is traveling at 300 million meters per second. And then you've got a refractive index. The value given for that is 1. In water, which gets slightly more dense, you've got a refractive index of 1.33. You can see the speed of light has slowed down. Instead of being 300, it's now gone on to 226. In glass, you've got, which is even more dense than water, you've got a refractive index of 1.5, but you can see the speed of light has gone down to 200 million meters per second. And the final one is diamond, which is pretty dense. The speed of light has dropped right down to 125, and it's got a refractive index of 2.4. Now, according to the refractive indices of the gemstones, the higher the value for the refractive index, the more brilliant the stone will be. So if you're looking at refractive indexes when you're choosing gemstones, it's best to choose gemstones with higher refractive indexes, because you will see, on indices rather, because you will see that the gemstone will have more brilliance in it. And diamond has quite a high brilliance. It's got a 2.4. So together with all the cuts that they make on the surface of the gemstone, as well as this high refractive index, this is the reason why diamonds are so desirable, because they are so sparkly and they are so brilliant. So that all affects how sparkly and how brilliant that diamond is. And due to the fact that internal reflection is going on because of the cut of the diamond, that will also improve the way the diamond sparkles and shines and how beautiful it looks. So these are the things to consider when you're actually looking at getting a gemstone. Now, the last thing I did want to speak about is absorption and transmission. This is a very important factor, I feel, as well, because this is the thing that assigns the gemstone its color. So I've got, looking back at my prism diagram over here, you can see that light is made up of those 7 colors. And the reason why you are able to see a color in a gemstone is because that is the color that gemstone is reflecting. So when white light hits the gemstone, assuming that this is the gemstone, it will either absorb the color and retransmit it, or even reflect the color. But what it does is it takes the whole spectrum. So this is a Peridot necklace that I've got. It's got a nice yellowy green color. The white light is hitting it because you've got white light shining on it. But what it is doing is it's taking the colors from the red, orange, blue, indigo, violet, and it's absorbing those colors, and it's transmitting or absorbing, processing, and transmitting the yellow and the green color of the spectrum. And this is why we are seeing it as a yellow-green color. You've got purple gemstone over here, which is an amethyst, which is now absorbing all the spectrum right up to the blue part or the indigo part of the spectrum, and it's reflecting back the purple, or transmitting back the purple color of that spectrum. And I've got the carnelian, which is the orange color over here, and it's absorbing all of this part of the spectrum, and they're reflecting or transmitting back the orange part of the spectrum. So it's taken in everything else, but just is now transmitting only the orange part of the spectrum, whereas the amethyst is only transmitting the violet part of the spectrum. So you can see these two gemstones are now processing the light and only selectively putting out two different, the colors that they are at is the colors that they are transmitting. So it's very selective in which way that gemstone is putting out colors. So it has interacted with the energy of light. It's taken what it's needed, and it's now putting out, reflecting back 2 colors there. I've got a black stone over here. This is an obsidian stone. This is black because it's absorbed all of that spectrum. So it's not transmitting any of the light. It's taken in and absorbed all of that spectrum, and that's why we see it as black. So whereas white light has been hitting this gemstone, nothing is escaping it. It is hanging on to all of the colors of that spectrum. These black stones are important for that reason, and we use it for spiritual purposes of grounding stones, or we use it for absorbing negative energies. And this is the reason why, because it actually hangs on to all of that light, hangs on to all of those energies there without transmitting them again. And this is one of the reasons behind using black stones as grounding stones, or black stones to absorb negative energy. And you can see that with all the different colors, I've got a nice combination of stones over here. All of these will be transmitting. They've absorbed the white part of white spectrum, or the light the full spectrum of light, and they are selectively emitting the different colors of light, and they all have different spiritual values due to these colors that they are emitting. So that is why it is important to understand how light is actually interacting with the gemstone, and how the gemstone is actually changing, or it's altering the characteristics of that light, and it's altering the energy. So I hope that you have found this particular video quite informative, and please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave me some comments. And thank you so much for watching. Take care now. Goodbye.